You are carrying dead weight right now, and you defend it to the death. That half-finished project, the skill you outgrew 2 years ago, the business idea you've been polishing instead of shipping. You'd argue for every one of them, hard, because they're yours, and by the end of this, you'll see exactly how that instinct is quietly stealing the life you're trying to build. There's a clean experiment that exposes the whole trick. Researchers handed coffee mugs to half a room and gave the other half nothing. Then they let people trade. The ones holding mugs demanded roughly twice what the buyers were willing to pay. Same mug, same room. The only thing that changed was who happened to be holding it. Economists call this the endowment effect. Plain version. The second something becomes yours, your brain inflates its price. Ownership acts like a lens that magnifies whatever sits behind it. A mug becomes a treasure. A mediocre side project becomes my baby. And here's the part that should make you sit up. The mug barely matters. The same machinery runs on the things you've actually poured years into. Think about what you've poured years into. Your brain doesn't file possessions in some neutral spreadsheet. It tags them as part of you. Losing them registers the way a small wound does. That's why selling the old gear, killing the old plan, or admitting the old skill is obsolete, feels less like a decision and more like cutting something off. The loss looms larger than the gain every time. So you hold. You hold long past the point where holding makes any sense. Watch how this plays out in a life like yours. You taught yourself to edit video 3 years ago, back when that was your edge. The tools changed, the market changed. A faster, cleaner workflow exists now, and you know it exists. But you've got hundreds of hours sunk into the old way. So you keep forcing it, defending it in your own head, telling yourself the new thing is overhyped. Meanwhile, someone 2 years younger with zero attachment learns the new workflow in a weekend and eats your lunch. The cost of your loyalty? Invisible. Which is exactly why it's so dangerous. So how do you spot a cost you literally cannot see? You run a trade in reverse. Look at the thing you're clinging to and ask one cold question. If I didn't already own this, how much would I pay to get it today? Not what it cost you, not what it could have been, what it's worth right now to the person you are right now, the course you're halfway through, the clients you keep because firing them feels rude, the apartment, the city, the relationship that made sense for who you were at 22. Most of what you're hoarding, you wouldn't buy again at full price. That gap between what you'd pay and what you refuse to release is the tax you're paying on the past. And it gets sneakier because the bias doesn't only grip objects. It grips beliefs. The opinions you've held longest feel the truest, purely because you've held them longest. You own them, and you rarely see the grip until you write one down flat. Even a 2-minute journal entry in something like Ponder, their daily stoic prompts ask you to name the belief before you can defend it. Link in the description. Exposes how inflated the price tag really is. So when evidence shows up that you were wrong about your niche, your strategy, your whole approach, your gut treats that evidence like a thief at the door. You defend the belief the way the mug holders defended their price. This is why smart, ambitious people get stuck for years. They're not lacking information. They're protecting inventory. Outdated mental inventory they happen to be holding. There's a second engine making this worse, and it's the one you'd least suspect: the effort you put in. Researchers found that people who assembled their own plain furniture valued it like designer pieces. Building something with your own hands inflates its price in your eyes far past what anyone else would pay. Read that as a builder, because you live there. Every line of code you wrote, every video you cut, every page of the plan you drafted at 2 a.m. gets marked up by the sweat alone. The harder you worked on it, the harder it is to see clearly. which means your most labor-intensive projects are precisely the ones you're worst at judging. So your worst blind spots sit exactly where you tried the hardest. This is the trap that swallows ambitious people whole. The market gives you a signal. Nobody's downloading, nobody's buying, nobody's watching. A clear-eyed stranger would read that signal in 10 seconds and move on. You can't, because you built it, and building it bonded you to it. You start explaining the signal away. The algorithm's against you. The audience isn't ready. You just need one more feature, one more week, one more push. Every one of those sentences is the endowment effect talking through your mouth, dressed up as resolve. The work fooled you into loving the cage you built. Here's where someone reasonable pushes back. Quitting things constantly is how people end up with nothing finished. Persistence is the whole game. That's fair, and it's true. Grit builds everything worth having. But notice the sleight of hand your brain pulls. It dresses up plain attachment in the costume of discipline. Real persistence is choosing, again, something you'd choose fresh today. Endowment is clinging to something only because dropping it stings. They feel identical from the inside. There are opposites in your life. The skill is telling them apart. One question separates them. Am I continuing because this is still the best use of who I am? Or because letting go feels like loss? Sit with that honestly, and the answer usually arrives fast, and it's usually uncomfortable. Now flip the whole thing around, because this is where it stops being a warning and starts being leverage. If owning something makes you overvalue it, then the things you don't own yet, you systematically undervalue. The new skill feels not quite worth the effort. The unwritten code, the unbuilt audience, the unstarted business, all sit behind glass, priced too low because they aren't yours. Your brain runs a permanent bias toward the status quo and against the future you. Every day you let it run unchecked, you're trading a discounted tomorrow for a marked up yesterday. Sit with what that means for your ambition. The future you keeps showing up with offers, and the present you keeps lowballing them. The skill that takes 90 days to learn looks expensive because you don't hold it yet. The audience you'd build over a year looks like a long shot because it isn't yours yet. So you protect the cheap, finished, comfortable thing you already have, and you talk yourself out of the expensive, unfinished, life-changing thing you don't. The scale is rigged from birth, and it's rigged against the person you're trying to become. So the move is to put your thumb on the other side of the scale, deliberately, until it balances. Start small and physical, because the body teaches the mind. Pick one thing you own and haven't touched in 6 months. The guitar, the camera, the stack of books you bought to become a person you decided not to become. Sell it or give it away this week. Watch the resistance show up. That flinch, that but I might need it, that low hum of irrational defense, study it. That same exact flinch is what guards your dead projects and your stale beliefs. Train yourself to feel it on a $50 object, and you'll recognize it instantly when it's guarding a year of your life. Then, take it to the work that matters. Every quarter, put your own commitments on trial. List the projects, the habits, the tools, the relationships you're pouring yourself into. Beside each one, that reverse trade question, would I start this today? From zero, knowing what I know now. The ones that survive, double down on them with a clear conscience. Because now you've actually chosen them. The ones that don't survive are capital, time, energy, and attention you can finally redeploy toward the future you've been underpricing. A founder, I'll keep nameless, spent 18 months on a product almost nobody wanted because he built it and it was his. The day he asked whether he'd start it fresh, the answer was an obvious no. He killed it in a week. The skills underneath it, the audience he'd half built, the discipline he'd forged, all of that survived. He just stopped paying rent on a corpse. His next thing worked. You have a version of that corpse somewhere right now, and you know its name. This is harder than it sounds, and I won't pretend otherwise. The flinch never fully goes away. Some of what you're holding is tangled up with who you were when you started, with people who believed in you, with a story you told everyone you'd finish. Letting go of those can feel like a small betrayal of your past self. That weight is real. Willpower alone won't dissolve it. And anyone selling you a clean 5-step detachment hack is lying. What you can do is build the habit of looking. The honest quarterly trial, the $50 reps, the single question asked out loud. You won't kill the bias. You'll just stop letting it vote on your future behind your back. Because here's the quiet cost nobody puts a number on. Every hour you spend defending the mug is an hour stolen from the thing that could actually change your trajectory. The opportunity never sends an invoice. It just doesn't happen. The version of you that learned the new tool, shipped the real thing, dropped the dead client, and walked toward the future instead of guarding the past, that person lives in a branch you keep declining, one small flinch at a time. You are the sum of what you're willing to put down to reach for what's next. So go find your mug, the project, the belief, the identity you'd argue twice the price for. Hold it up to the light and ask what a stranger would pay. Then decide, with open hands instead of clenched ones, whether it earns a place in the life you're actually building. Most of it won't. And the room you make by letting it go is exactly where the future has been waiting to move in.